come in? Listen, I know you're laying in bed right now and thinking about the sadness that comes with being alone. I know you're also thinking about how you miss that person deeply, but I'm here for you and you should focus more on me and my voice, as well as the fact that I'm right here with you. Now I sit on your bed and I look you in your eyes and I see that you've been crying for a while. But that's alright, because I'm here for you, and I always will be. Now today, I have something I want to tell you. That as much as you would love to let sadness become a passenger in your life, it is a fleeting emotion. You cannot forever stay sad or stuck in thoughts and think to yourself that you have nothing. Because if you consistently think that you're alone and you have nobody, you will not seek the light. I understand you want to lay down in bed and relax and look up at the ceiling or look at the wall. I understand that you wish you didn't have to talk to anybody because you know how painful it can be. But I want you to reconsider for a moment the fact that you think you might want to give up on love or you might want to give up on friendship because of all the times you've been hurt. I want you to think of every time you've watched a movie, TV show, played a video game, or read a book, and you've seen characters who struggle with the same things you do. That feeling of loneliness, the lack of a sense of community, the lack of a sense of kinship, the fact that you feel it all right now, and the fact that you feel it so deeply and so intensely speaks volumes about how everything is going in your life. I understand that you want to curl up in a ball and leave and just never have to return, but you simply can't, because the world requires you to be brave. As much as it hurts to be brave, I also just want to say that you will have so many people who are proud of you for being brave. I understand that you don't want to get up, that you don't want to stop feeling this way, that maybe you are perfectly comfortable with being the way that you are. But most people aren't going to accept that version of you, because people have expectations and they have standards. As much as those standards and expectations can feel rather encumbering, I do also want you to realize that you have standards too. You think so highly of these people that you fall in love with and that you get into relationships with, and then they dump you, and then you are back at square one with your somewhat arrested development. I'm not necessarily implying this is a bad thing. If anything, it's just the way it is. You constantly struggle with a feeling that you're not good enough for other people. You constantly and persistently feel as if all of these things that you are doing on working yourself to the bone by going to the gym or being invested in your own career and trying your hardest, you might often feel like it simply isn't good enough for anybody. But that's not the problem. The biggest issue is in the way that you are simply not allowing yourself to accept that you can be flawed. You are flawed. You will always be flawed, and there is nothing wrong with that. The very concept of being flawed does not effectively implies that there is a perfect version of you, but I think we both know that that's not really the case here. I understand that you want to be better for these people that you love so deeply, but sometimes they're just not going to accept you no matter what you do. And I understand that it is simply just the way it is. You can't necessarily change yourself if you don't have an idea of who you need to be. Because if you don't know who you need to be in that moment, then you're going to continue fumbling around in the dark, feeling confused as you try to reach for the light switch, but you can't find it. To me, you're a good friend. You're someone I can look at and think that I can depend on in such a way. I think that you can be better than this. There's nothing wrong with the way that you are now, it's just that it's not preferable and ideal for many people. because they think that they want better and that they deserve better. People who have a sort of ideal in their head about who they want in their lives and who they want to keep around. That's the kind of thing that you need to question. And I understand that when it comes to your friends, I definitely understand this feeling that you don't feel like you're good enough for them because you feel like they're not hanging out with you enough and that they don't enjoy your company. Now, I understand that that is a mouthful of things to think about, but to put it simply, I'm simply saying that you cannot continue to stumble around so aimlessly and not be able to know what you need. You do know what you need to an extent, in the sense of emotional needs, your requirements, all those kinds of things. I understand that they are somewhat polarizing to you because you don't often look deeply within yourself and you're not able to. That is a skill that comes with a lot of patience and with a lot of time and with a lot of trying. I understand, and I know I keep saying I understand, but there's really no other way I can phrase this, that you're potentially feeling as if you will never be good enough, but that's simply not true. You've shown to me and many other people in your life that you do continue to improve, even if that's difficult for you. And without the pain, there would be no pleasure, and without no pleasure, there'd be no pain, so you do have to somewhat consider the fact that you need to be more responsible with yourself. But again, I'm not exactly blaming you. I'm simply saying that it's all really a question of if you're willing to put that kind of effort into yourself. Because people can see that you make effort, but what they're really looking for is results. Because people live in a world of immediacy. They care about the now. They don't really care about the future that much because we all know the future is difficult. And yes, it makes perfect sense that you feel as if it could be better because it can be better. But you're also not being realistic and also not thinking that it is all up to you. You can start being better tomorrow, but that ultimately requires you to kick a lot of bad habits and things that you've cemented within your mind over the past few however many years. I really do care about you deeply. And it pains me to see that you're not thinking of applying yourself because you feel as if it's all empty. And you feel sort of clueless as to what should be happening. And I really do think that it's all a question of being able to isolate the problem and solve it slowly by recognizing what's wrong. And I understand that a lot of the time when you talk to people and you feel like they're casting their judgment and they're leaving you because you're not good enough and you feel like you're bad and all of this and all of that, that much of the time it really isn't that they think that you're a terrible person. They're protecting their own interest, and I don't want you to think that that is some kind of mar on you. It's not. Really, it's just a question of how willing you are to recognize and accept that sometimes people will look at what you do and they'll say, "Wow, that's not something I want to be around." And I understand that that hurts, but you're not perfect and neither am I. I'm simply trying to say that you should not only try more, but try to educate yourself on what the other people in your life would like to see and like to have. You can always ask what you think is missing in another person to them, and they'll tell you what they think. People are always yearning for more. You can't be everything all at once. That's something I'd like to warn you of as well. So, yes, ultimately it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to stay the way you are or change. And that That is difficult. That's a very difficult thing to think about. That much is true, I understand. I really do wish you the best, and I hope you very well. Because I do think that if you if you manage to somehow make it through all these impasses and stopped being so depressed and slowly dug yourself out of that hole, you'd be a much happier person. So yeah, that's exactly what I think. And maybe, hopefully, eventually you will turn back one of these days and realize that you look back on yourself not with hatred but with an understanding that you could have been taking care of yourself better. But we all start somewhere. So that's really all I have to say to you for today. I want you to have a good night and I want you to take care of yourself. I'll see you later. Goodbye.